love this 250 is awesome at like 10,000 RPM. It's like a whole other world. Can't beat that. And the miles per gallon is really holding true. I'm getting above 50, sometimes 60 miles per gallon in between. It just depends on the driving habit that I've noticed. God, the temperature's much better right now. This mesh stuff is great. I know a lot of guys that wear leather, and I don't know, that perforated leather I think would be too hot. I don't know. I mean, sometimes even just sitting still in this, which is predominantly mesh, but it's Cordura 500D in the non-mesh areas and stuff. Where I guess you could do the high impact areas, they call it, right? But it keeps you pretty cool. You know, talking about cops that would just pass one. This city, though, has a crap. I mean, and that's a good thing. I'm just saying. There is, if you live in the city, you have HPD, Houston Police Department, but our county has what we call constable districts. So then you have your Houston Police, then you have your constable district, right? So you have these constables, and then also within the city of Houston you have, for traffic enforcement at least, you have what is Metro Police, and they I think their jurisdiction is only as far as like vehicle stuff. And then you have the sheriff, and then above the sheriff would be DPS. That's the Department of basically public safety, the state level. So the DPS vehicles look the meanest. They're like this black and white. You get pulled over by those guys. They're, you know, very robotic. You know, you were going 2 miles over the speed limit kind of crap. And usually they fill in for these smaller cities where the sheriff maybe is not as large, and they help out. You always have these speed traps. Like Lamarck, I remember it was like a big speed trap of DPS officers off of 45. Going from Houston to 45. It is a little, it's like a smaller city, right before you get to Galveston. So, but yeah, lots of police. Tickets here. If you have when I was much younger, let's just put it that way, and I had a Volkswagen Corrado VR6. I used to love racing, as I said before, like motorcycles and cars, but I was like this idiot speeder in my Volkswagen Corrado. It was all souped up, chips, suspension, everything. Used to race it as well. Get tons of speeding tickets. I had a lawyer on retainer just about, and I got off all of them. So if you spend the amount of money you do on a ticket pretty much for a lawyer, and they delay it, and by the time it gets to the courthouse, it's like the officers like can't recall and yada yada. So you usually get it dismissed. Not advocating it, it's just what happened to me in my life. Of course, you get married, you have kids, everything changes. You become more regimented. Of course, I still like to race, but let's find a track to go do it. And I was very much an advocate of doing that on the track, Texas World Speedway and things like that, and versus the street. I lost a best friend of mine. He was racing and drinking I wasn't there at the time. Very, very sad. He raced his car straight into a tree. So, yeah. If you're gonna race, do it on the track. Or like in the old days, I so bad want to write or do like a short film just titled Westheimer. The fun, it's a big main street in Houston, and in the old days, in my days, basically the sheriff, they're in these Camaros at the time. Late at night would close off the street and wouldn't mind letting us race. I mean, this is years back when there wasn't much development. And then, of course, we had an accident and unsanctioned racing, and then they got all hard, which I don't blame them. It's like, you know, you abused the privilege of what we were doing. We didn't even have to freaking let you guys use this, and so we lost that. But oh, what fun it would be when we'd cruise up and down Westheimer, and we like riding a motorcycle. You'd you get like a hot ass chicks in a car that would just jump out the car, get on the back of your bike, and they'd ride on the back of your bike for maybe 4 traffic lights. You can just get back in and shit their car. It was fun days, man. Fun days. I live so far out. Well, not that far, but I live in a different part of Houston from where I was when I was raised, so I don't really go down there. Nor do I have any really motive to go to that part of Houston and see what it's like now. I heard that they have car shows and parking lots and things like that. So that, you know, that's a cool thing. They're keeping it up. It's kind of the tradition. But I highly doubt that they close off the streets now. It's probably very, very developed in the part of Westheimer where we used to have the sheriffs out there. I remember one time these racing groups, because you see the way it would work is you would have the Japanese vehicles, and there's no nitrous. Okay, this ain't Fast and Furious bullcrap. If you had nitrous, you were considered to be just a pussy back in my day, and a cheater and stuff. And it was more on the technique of driving, and you didn't want to burn off the line that quick, because it was from light to light. And many cars, like Corvettes, would waste precious seconds burning rubber off the start line. And by the time you're at the next this part of Westheimer, by the time you got to the next flight, I mean, it was not enough time for them to catch up and stuff. Then there was a longer section of Westheimer probably would come more into play. But the moral of the story is nitrous in my day was just you're a big pussy. And use your driving, or you'd race against equivalent engines. In other words, none of this handicapping stuff. So you'd race, if you were a Honda Civic souped up, you'd race up against other Honda Civics that were souped up. If you were a Mustang, you'd race against others that were Mustangs and stuff. So that's how it went. If you were a truck, like, hey, everything raced, from pickup trucks to motorcycles to, you know, like Japanese cars, the American cars, the German cars. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes it'd be free for all. You know, they had turbos. You'd see cars with turbos and blowers and all kinds of good stuff, and that was fun. But like I said, you know, nitrous was just not the in thing. I know it's popular probably now because all the Fast and Furious movies and things like that, but it just wasn't the thing back in my day. So lots of good memories. We'd ride down to James Coney Island, sit there, all the bikes hook up, lots of badass chicks out there. I remember there was one time though. Now this was totally illegal racing. That we were all at James Coney Island, and this I forget the car model from the movie Christine. Totally just stealth black, can't see in the vehicle, fat tires racing. This guy barely hits the exhaust, or hits the gas, and the tire just slowly goes. just no try. It was just incredible. And he was just tempting bikes to, because this guy, from what I understood afterwards, was known for beating motorcycles with his vehicle. And the only guy I think that raced him illegally was like this Yamaha VMAX, which is the bike I was explaining before. That bike scared me. It had so much power. So I think the VMAX took him on going down Westheimer. That was fun. Anyway, I will catch you guys in the next ride.